know how it is when you're booking a trip. You're getting confirmation emails left and right from hotels, from airlines, from rental car companies. Wouldn't it be great if all of that could somehow be automatically put into an itinerary so you had everything you needed exactly when you needed to know it? Well, guess what? That's exactly what TripWaffle does. It is a free app. Before you roll your eyes and think, no, not another app. This one's free. I highly suggest you give it a go. You can literally forward any travel-related email, and TripWaffle will automatically turn it into an easy-to-read plan, complete with timely reminders, useful insights, and an itinerary that's a pleasure to use. I got an email from a listener, Larry, who said, wow, thank you. I loaded a trip on TripWaffle, 6 flights, 5 hotels. Amazing way to track. So easy. I've tried it as well, and it works great. Go to tripwaffle.com or search for TripWaffle on the app stores. Throw some older upcoming booking emails at it and see what it can do. Thanks to TripWaffle for supporting today's show.
Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
You know, I've explored a lot of Europe and not a ton of Asia. Well, now I've explored quite a few, but at that point hadn't seen much of Asia. And I was like, why don't I just drive east and see if I can make it? Like, see if I can make it all the way to the opposite end of the continent. The idea of research didn't even occur to me. I don't know. I think it's just my personality, because even this last trip to Asia, people are shocked at how little research I did. And that's why I ended up having to ditch my car. I think I'm just like not really wired to do a lot of research. I'm more wired for just like, oh, I have an idea. Let me just go and then figure it out along the way.
That is today's guest, Mia Kercher. She was living in Serbia as an expat before she decided to hop into a beat-up old car with her cat and take an unplanned road trip from Serbia all the way to Vietnam. You're going to hear about that adventure today, what it was like road tripping through Afghanistan as a solo female traveler, how she learned to overcome her self-consciousness of talking to strangers, how you can connect with locals anywhere. She shares an easy way to do that. Advice around running your business from the road so you can set yourself up for doing some off-grid travel and loads more. And in this world where we have access to an endless amount of information about pretty much any destination, I found it so refreshing to hear Mia's story and how her trip sort of organically unfolded without much planning. So let's dive in right now. I know you're going to love it. Strap in. Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
What's up, Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. We're going to dive right into this one in a moment. Don't forget, we have a newsletter. ZeroToTravel.com/newsletter is where you can sign up to keep in touch with the community offline, off the pod, I should say. And Mia Kercher is our guest, MiaKercher.com. She's got a book about this exact adventure you're going to hear called Following the Open Road, the road trip that brought me back to life. And what she says in the book description on her website, I just want to share really quickly. She says, when even an unconventional digital nomad life of travel became boring and dissatisfying, I made a spontaneous decision. I got in my beat-up old car with my cat and set out to drive across the Asian continent. And I want to talk about that in the outro. If you stick around after the interview, I want to talk about that little blurb there about an unconventional digital nomad life becoming boring. I thought there was something interesting there. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, please enjoy my conversation with Mia. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side, my friend. Cheers. Mia Kercher, Welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Are you tired from your journey? You were just on a pretty epic journey, which we're going to talk about today. Are you in post-travel, like, I just need to lay here and not think too much mode? Like, what's like post-travel mode for you after a journey this big, which we're going to talk about today?
I have been a bit tired. Yeah, not quite as active as I typically am. So I'm just doing a lot of like catching up on work stuff and also writing and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you write for yourself, or, I mean, I know you write for work, which we'll talk about a bit, but do you journal? Do you write for yourself?
Yeah, I'm writing a book about the trip actually. So now I'm writing the whole trip and yeah, so I also write lots of creative stuff too, poems and things like that.
Okay, cool. Maybe you'll share one of your poems with us at the end. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Oh,
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just finished traveling overland with your cat from Serbia to Vietnam. You had a great overview on your Instagram, which we'll link up to. I don't know how you made this thing, but you were talking about how you just like changed modes of transportation along the way and why you couldn't go into this country and that. And it was really cool. But you're here, we're here. So just give us a quick overview of what you did, so people can get a full understanding, and timeline wise, like how long ago did you finish? And then we can dive in, because I have a ton of questions about the journey itself. And then we can obviously talk about some of the mindset stuff. And you have some other things you do, like you're a hypnotist, I believe. I want to talk about that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack. But just let's get into the travel stuff. I want to hear the overview on this journey, which sounds a bit insane on the surface. I'm sure some insane things happen since you're writing a book about it, but
yeah, for sure. So the goal was I really wanted to drive my car from Serbia to Vietnam.
Yeah. Why?
So
why?
Just for the adventure. I kind of decided, I'm done with Serbia. I was living here as an expat. Actually, I'm back here now, but I wasn't expecting to come back. And then I just was like, yeah, I'm just going to leave. And I didn't know where I wanted to live or what I wanted to do. So I was like, why don't I just drive? I've explored a lot of Europe and not a ton of Asia. Well, now I've explored quite a few, but at that point hadn't seen much of Asia. And I was like, why don't I just drive east and see if I can make it? Like, see if I can make it all the way to the opposite end of the continent.
Okay. What's your cat's name, by the way?
Cleo.
Cleo. Okay, so
It's
you and
short
Cleo.
for Cleopatra or Cleocatra.
Sure, I like Cleocatra. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good cat pun, Mia. I did a couple stints as a tour manager driving the Meow Mix Mobile, which was a giant cat mobile with whiskers and the ears on the car, and those were speakers, and we had this whole thing, and people loved it. I mean, people were like flocking to this thing, and so we were full of. Yeah. We were full of cat puns. We were just purring down the highway. I'll spare everybody. This isn't a stand-up comedy show. Why were you and Cleocatra living in Serbia in the first place? What were you doing there? That
was where I ended up settling after a 2.5-year backpacking stint.
Okay.
Before that.
Wow.
So I ended up, that was also when I got kind of tired of traveling after 2.5 years. And I was like, I think I need a break from traveling, and I wanted to start my online business because at that point I didn't know about online business. So I was like, let me start this copywriting thing, and cost of living is cheaper in Serbia. Then I don't have to go home, and I just ended up living in Serbia.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have to go back further now. What was the genesis of the 2.5-year backpacking trip?
That was basically, I graduated from college and I was like, I don't want to get a job. Like,
yeah. I mean, who wants to get a job after college?
Right. Yeah. I just worked so hard for this degree. I don't want to go and work now.
Makes sense. And this is in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're finished college and you're like, did you have student debt?
No, actually, I had saved a bunch of money at that point. Or a chunk of money, not to go too far back in my past, but I ended up like having this random older rich lady who hired me as her personal assistant, and we became great friends, and she paid for my college.
What? Really?
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's not something that happens every day.
No, completely random. Her like lawyer found me online and was like, "Hey, you can come and work full time for us." And it was like full benefits. And then, yeah, we were just like best friends for 4 years.
They approached you and said, "Hey, will you come and caretake for this woman?"
Yeah, I didn't even apply.
But how did they find you? Like, why? Did you have some kind of online presence, or why did they choose you out of?
I was on a random housekeeping platform. Like people can pay you and you clean their houses, and they found me on there.
Wow.
Isn't
Okay.
that great? Online, even before online business was like much of a thing.
1 minute you're housekeeping random houses, the next minute you're getting your college paid for, and you have a job with full benefits. That's the twists and turns of life. Okay, so we're going to talk about the backpacking trip in a minute, but I know at the heart of a lot of your copywriting work, you have this energetic, I don't want to call it a twist because it sounds like it's a core value for you, but it's blended into your work. And you say you do energetic copywriting. It's a blend of psychology, linguistics, and hypnosis techniques to market to the subconscious mind. I'm just quoting your website here. Obviously, because you have this forward facing in your business, I imagine that the energetic sort of energy, let's say we all know the world is made up of energy. That's just a scientific fact, is very much infused in the things that you do and the decisions you make. Was there any of that in play when you kind of landed into this gig where you got your college paid for and like sort of the things that have happened in your life? Was that something that was a core value of yours that you tried to infuse in the things you did early on? Or is that more of a newer type of thing in your life in terms of your like own, let's call it your own spiritual evolution, if you want to call it that?
You could say it's more newer. Yeah, I actually started getting into hypnosis and energy work and stuff like that when I came to Serbia. So before that, I was just, everything felt very random.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, do you think it was random or do you have a different perspective on it now?
That's a big question. I don't know. I think a lot of things are random, but then they sort of kind of randomly work out to something that you needed them to work out to. Whereas, like, maybe there was some kind of like, I believe in all kinds of gods and goddesses and spirits and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know what's real. So it's like maybe something was guiding me and saying like, okay, you get this job and then you'll go and travel. And it was like at the time I was just like, you know, my whole first backpacking trip was complete chaos. It was like, I didn't follow any of these travel influencers online. I didn't know anything about backpacking. And so I was just like running into a series of obstacles and like, okay, I guess I'll do this now. I guess I'll go here. And yeah, then ended up in Serbia. And yeah, I think everything sort of piles into some kind of chaotic order in some way.
It's very easy to get information nowadays, as we know, right? So I'd say the majority of people, if they're going to embark on I don't know if you knew the trip was going to be 2.5 years at that point, or was it open-ended?
Completely open-ended. I thought I was just going to go move to Spain and teach English. And as soon as I got there, I was like, oh, I kind of like this travel thing. I'm just going to keep traveling.
Okay. So you had a gig and then you were, okay. Yeah, because most people, I would say, in that open-ended situation would probably do some research. But I mean, was that like, but that's not, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, was that an intentional choice or was it just kind of like naivety, if you will? Like, I'm just going to go into this and just see what happens and just kind of go along for the ride. Or were you like, you know what? I'm not going to look at anything. I just want to like this to be completely fresh. I think there's a lot of advantages to that, by the way, even if you're going to make more mistakes. But
the idea of research didn't even occur to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just my personality because even this last trip to Asia, people are shocked at how little research I did. And that's why I ended up having to ditch my car. I don't know. I think I'm just like not really wired to do a lot of research. I'm more wired for just like, oh, I have an idea. Let me just go and then figure it out along the way.
Yeah. I think that's really cool because I mean, you're going to get a totally different experience than if you set yourself up with expectations, and that can work to your disadvantage if you run into like some logistical paperwork issues, for example, for visas and things like that, which I know you did on this recent trip. But then again, that leads to its own set of experiences, right? Like then you wouldn't have had those other experiences if those things didn't happen. So There's no real right way or wrong way, I'm using air quotes, to travel, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think also I wouldn't have done it if I had known all the random challenges that would come up.
Too intimidating.
Like, yeah, or I'd just be too lazy. I'd be like, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of hard work. I'm just going to stay home."
Yeah, I'm just going to pet my cat and relax
Right?
at home. Yeah, no, that makes sense. The backpacking trip, you were in Spain, you were teaching. How long did you teach? And then what did that trip look like for you?
Actually, I didn't teach. I didn't have a gig. I was just thinking I would just walk around to different English schools with my resume and see if I could get a job.
I love it. Did that work out?
Not really. I mean, I didn't really try that hard because really I got to Barcelona and then I was like, I just want to keep going. I don't know.
Why do I
And
want to
so
work?
yeah.
Okay. So what were some of the chaotic order moments on that trip that you described?
Chaotic order meaning my 90-day visa expired, or it's not really a visa, but the 90 days that you get in the Schengen zone expired. And then it was kind of like, okay, so now I have to think of some other region to go to. And I was thinking to go to South America, but then I don't remember why I changed my mind. For some reason, I changed my mind and started to look up countries outside the Schengen zone. And that's when I discovered Serbia for the first time and was like, oh, people said there's great hiking there. And I was there in the winter and I was hiking in the mountains, having a great time. And then then I think I did start to do a little research and I found out about Workaway. So I did some volunteering and I was in Albania and where else was I? Italy in the mountains. And then I was supposed to go to Vienna after I finished in Italy, but my accommodation fell through right at the last minute and nothing else was as cheap as that. So I was like, well, now where do I go? I was like, I haven't seen Serbia in the summer. So I went back to Serbia for the summer, thought that I was going to stay in Novi Sad, which is like the other big city in Serbia other than Belgrade. And then I just like accidentally booked the wrong accommodation and ended up in some small town outside of Belgrade. Ended up making a bunch of friends, kind of fell in love with somebody. So I stayed for a while for that. That ended. It was just like everything just sort of happened. And then I just react to whatever happens and then chose the next thing after that.
Okay. No, I mean, that's living life. That's just really living. Many things are so calculated nowadays. With travel, that's one of the things I love. You're able to create the physical space and the mental space to kind of just live life in a way that feels more natural in some ways, I would say, than the sort of the structured daily thing, which isn't always the case, of course. It's not like a black or white thing. It's many shades of gray. But the lessons that came out of that trip for you, what were some of the big things that stuck with you? Because you said you didn't do a lot of research. Everything was really fresh. I'm sure you were just taking in a lot of experiences along the way. And then, of course, learning about yourself on a journey like that when you're coming up against challenges and all of the things in travel. What were some of the things for you personally that came out of that 2.5-year backpacking experience?
I think the biggest thing was really becoming more confident in myself. I was always a very outgoing person who easily made friends and stuff like that. But there was always some level of comfort zone involved in that. You're like, I'm in my country and people are speaking my language. And so you can do these different things, but you have this element of like, you are in your comfort zone. And then to be in these other countries and new languages, new ways of getting around and stuff like that, it was a little intimidating. And so it took me a little while to kind of find a rhythm of like, how do I want to just randomly meet people, and being outgoing. And there were some people I met along the way who were super outgoing, and I kind of observed how they interacted with other people. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can just walk up to a random person in the street and say hello. And so I started to do that, and that made the trip way more fun because then I'm just meeting random, somebody is, basically my line was always just walking up to someone who I thought looked interesting and say, "Hi, do you speak English?" And then we go out to lunch, we have a drink, we do this or that. And it just ended up making the trip so much more interesting. So I think that was like a huge life lesson, to just be able to learn to get over whatever, self-consciousness that we have about randomly talking to strangers.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, just kind of learning to put yourself out there in a way where you're just willing to do it, I guess, despite the discomfort. It's powerful.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I really enjoy the planning stage of a trip, piecing together that itinerary that sets you up for this epic travel experience. You probably already know that travel advisors actually earn a living planning trips for others doing that exact thing, but what you might not know is how easy it is for you to take your travel planning skills and earn income from them by planning vacations for others with Fora. Fora is a modern travel agency built for people who love to plan travel and help others travel well. Their tech platform, training, and community give you everything you need to turn your passion for travel planning into a flexible, meaningful stream of income. No need to figure everything out on your own with a Fora subscription. Everything you need to run a travel business lives under one roof. You can finally turn your passion for travel into a fulfilling business with Fora. Become a Fora advisor today at foratravel.com/0to-travel. That's Fora, Fora travel.com/0to-travel. Make sure you tell them we sent you, foratravel.com/0to-travel. You may have heard about Built as the loyalty program that lets you earn points on rent wherever you live. Well, they just leveled up even more. As of 2026, homeowners can also earn up to 1.25 times points on their mortgage payments. This is thanks to Built's 3 new credit cards, the Palladium card, Obsidian card, and Blue card. All 3 turn your housing payments, rent, or mortgage into flexible rewards, so you can choose the card that fits your lifestyle without missing out on points and exclusive benefits. Built points can be redeemed at top airlines and hotels, Amazon.com purchases, future rent payments, and more. Built points have also been ranked by top publications as the industry's most valuable point currency. Your housing payment is already your biggest expense. Make it your most rewarding. Find the card that fits your lifestyle and apply today at joinbuilt.com/0to-travel. That's joinbuilt, joinbilt.com/0to-travel. Make sure you use our URL so they know we sent you. Terms and limitations apply, subject to approval and eligibility. Built cards are issued by Column NA, member FDIC, pursuant to license from MasterCard International Incorporated. Now, back to the show. What about the solo travel aspect for you? Was that intimidating at all going into it? Had you done a lot of solo traveling before? Are you somebody that spent a lot of time on your own? Or, I know that can be intimidating for some people.
I do have a lifelong history of just doing things that I want to do without...
Just going for it.
Yeah. I did a lot of like road trips in the US when I was... Because I actually went to college later. When I left my parents' house, I kind of did this, like I moved to North Dakota during the oil boom, and I was like there hanging out in the Midwest for a while, and just driving around the US a lot. So it never bothered me to be alone, and it never has.
Okay. Were you like digging for black gold? It sounds very old school.
I mean, it was kind of like a modern day gold rush, the way it was in North Dakota, because it was 2010. So that was right in the middle of the recession. Plus I was just fresh out of my parents' house. I had no actual skills or anything. And my sister was actually in the military, like based in North Dakota. So she was like, why don't you come here for a summer? So I went there for the summer because basically the oil rigs were like the only place where everybody was like jobs. And so all these people from all over the country were coming to work in the oil rigs. And if you had no experience or anything, it didn't matter. And you could get paid much more than, making minimum wage somewhere else in the country. And so I didn't go to work in the oil rigs. I went to be a waitress because they were all saying, oh, waitresses make more than strippers in Las Vegas and North Dakota. which I think was true, honestly.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I remember, like, now I wouldn't think it was that much money because I do make like more in my business now, but at the time it felt like I was just like literally like, thank you for piling my table with cash. It felt like I was really making a lot.
Wow. Okay. Well, after this, don't be surprised if there's an influx of Las Vegas workers to North Dakota now. Who knows? The car trip, or the multi-transportation trip, we should say, that you just finished. How long ago did you finish the trip from Serbia to Vietnam? This is very fresh, right?
It was at the beginning of summer.
Okay. Yeah, so some months ago at
Yeah.
the time of this recording. But not that long ago, really. It's not like it was years ago. And you mentioned the lack of research thing, which is interesting because you're talking about going from Serbia to Vietnam. And I know you went through Russia. I mean, you're American. There's a war going on. You know, you're drove into Afghanistan, all kinds of things that can happen in remote areas there with the way, I'm not even sure, like, on the map what remote areas you can go into on your own and whatnot. I mean, these aren't small things. There could be like life and death type of things. And that's not, again, like, I'm a huge proponent of, I mean, we hear it time and again here, like the world's a much friendlier place and then the media makes it out to be and all that stuff. But there is a reality of some of these places. What did you do to kind of prepare going through, Russia as an American citizen right now could be something that's a problem, into the remote areas of Afghanistan. And then also, if you're not researching some of the cultural stuff when you get into the Middle East and stuff like that, certain ways that you may want to present to fit in, like, there's a lot of these questions, like, how did you manage all that going into the trip? Or did you at all? Was it another one of those, all right, I'm going to throw my cat in the car and go?
A little bit of both. I wasn't planning on going through Russia originally. Originally, I thought I would go from Turkey into Iran and then then I was like, well, maybe I'll go into Pakistan after that, or maybe Afghanistan. I wasn't sure. But that's when I found out about this lovely document, the Carnet de Passage, which is, for people who don't know, it's like very official kind of insurance document that you have to get to be able to enter a lot of countries in Asia, a lot in Africa as well. I don't think any European countries require it. But yeah, they won't let you into the country if you don't have this document, because it basically proves that you won't import your car into their country.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that was a big one.
Yeah, that ended up being my downfall, my car's downfall. Yeah. So I didn't have that one, and you couldn't get into Iran without it. Plus, Iran's like complications were that Americans can't go into the country without a certified travel guide with them at all times. And that was really a negative for me because that's not the way I like to travel at all. So yeah, basically I spent a ton of time in Turkey then researching how to get through, because it was so complicated. You couldn't get from Turkey to, I'm mixing up these countries now. Azerbaijan, is that the next one? I wish I had a map open. Okay, there's a little cluster of countries. There's Azerbaijan. I think that's the one that's right above Turkey, but they have their border closed in between them. But then if I wanted to go through Georgia and get to that country, they have their land borders closed. So you can fly into the country, but you can't drive in by car. Then there was the next one, which was completely closed for vehicle entry because they're still closed because of COVID, actually.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. Then I thought, well, maybe there's
even now?
Still, yeah. That's technically what their official website says. They're closed because of COVID.
Wow.
Or it said that a year ago. I haven't checked it since then.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So then I thought, well, maybe there's a ferry that I can take across the Caspian Sea. I was looking at from Georgia, but then I was contacting this like ferry that I found online, but they said, no, we're not running anymore. It's closed. So basically, in the end, it ended up that the only way to get around was to go through Russia and go all the way around the sea.
Wow. Okay. How many countries did you end up going through in the end? Like, what you can give us the quick overview. We talked about it in the beginning, and then we got onto a topic, but just so people have some context.
So my route ended up being Serbia, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. That is when I got denied entry into India, and I ended up having to fly to Thailand. And then it was Thailand, Laos, Vietnam.
And you did some biking, you did some walking after you got over to Thailand, right? You tried some different things that weren't for you, it sounded like, after some days. But I think that's cool. You went for it. Like you tried the biking thing. It sounded like it wasn't, you said in the video I watched, it was too tough, a bit too tough. And then you did some walking and you got blisters. And it sounds like you just kind of adapt to you're listening to yourself as you're on the road and kind of figuring out what you need. It sounds like a pretty epic trip. So since you're writing a book on it and this is fresh, I imagine that the experiences that you're writing about are the ones that are quote unquote book worthy, let's say. And I'd like to hear about some of those experiences.
Let's see. Top experiences. I mean, Afghanistan was it'll just forever be in my mind like one of the most life-changing countries I've ever visited, because there was so much hype around it. It was like, I literally had my friends back in Serbia messaging me like, Mia, don't go to Afghanistan. We don't think it's a good idea. They're like calling me concerned, saying not to go. In terms of your question about doing research about that beforehand, there is an Afghanistan travel Facebook group. And so I did just find some other women who have driven through Afghanistan on their own. There were a couple of them in the group, and I reached out to them and they told me, no, it's going to be fine. Everything was so that was the research I did. I said, I'm going to, instead of looking at what's in the media or looking at the, travel advisory notification on the us.gov website, I'm going to talk to actual women who were there alone, even one driving a car, and ask them. And they said it was going to be fine.
Okay. And so you just followed the route that they suggested, or was it?
I mean, everybody has different routes because different people are traveling different ways through their overland journeys. Mine was just, I needed to get from Uzbekistan to Pakistan, basically. So I visited the main cities along the way for that route.
How long was the trip through Afghanistan? And tell us about your experience on the ground. Like, who did you meet? What stood out? Why is it so memorable and life-changing for you personally?
Yeah. I ended up being there for 5 weeks because that's where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about this carnet de passage. So I had tried to apply to figure out if I could get it long distance, which ended up turning out that I could, but they charge you 12,000 euros to be able to go into Pakistan, which they said, oh, it's a refundable deposit. But of course, my car is a 2006 Megane. Like, I don't know if it's going to make it out. So I was like, I don't want to take that risk. I was kind of, let's say, killing time in Afghanistan while I waited to find out that response. Basically, it was like, at first, the biggest shock. I mean, just like literally going into another world, completely different than any place I visited, the clothes and the way people act and interact with each other. And it was all completely different. At first, it was like shocking because I got so much attention that it was like very overwhelming. Your nervous system goes into this fight or flight mode, which is like thousands of people are literally watching me, pointing me. It was very overwhelming for the first several days. But then I met some people because, I mean, it's impossible not to meet people. And they kind of took me around, and they were local people, and they started translating. And what I realized is everybody was just asking, oh, does she need anything? Is she okay? Does she like Afghanistan? Can we do anything to help her? And so once I realized those were the things they wanted to say, I was like, oh, this is absolutely just, it just gave me some reassurance to be like, okay, literally it's just curiosity. They haven't seen a foreigner, they're curious. And that ended up making it really fun, because then after that, I was just, hey, everybody, hi, salam, salam. And it was completely fun after that. Then it's like nonstop. People are just, come to my house, have some tea, come to my house. Like, they're begging you to stay the night at their house. And just so much fun meeting everybody and going into these different houses and meeting families, and people give you really special treatment. Like there was one government building that you could go in and see. It was kind of like a museum. And then the actual architects of the building came out of their office and gave me this private tour around and told me everything about designing this. It was an old palace from a king in the past. And so they're just, giving me this private tour and telling me all this insider information, showing me rooms that are usually closed off to tourists, but they're with me, so I get to see them. And it was like this amazing, I don't want to say I was treated like royalty, because that sounds conceited in some way, but they really did. Everybody pulled out all the stops with their hospitality.
Mm. What is your best advice for women that want to travel there? Did you have to dress a certain way, or I know there's certain rules, or I don't know if it's different for foreigners. What's the protocol?
They're not strict about the rules with foreigners. I don't think I would have had to. I'm sure I would have had to cover my head. I did that right before I crossed the border. And you could just wear modest clothes, loose fitting, covering the skin and stuff. But I wore the black gown just because I wanted to. And people really liked it. They were like saying, oh, you look so good in our clothes. And I wasn't doing it for the Taliban. I was doing it for the people who really enjoyed seeing me wearing their clothes.
Did you have any conversations on the ground about the current state of the affairs there with the government and everything?
Yeah. So there was one day when I first arrived, and I was at this mosque with a guy who I had met, and there was apparently a modesty police who was there. And then he asked my friend, oh, what's her deal? What's up with her? And then he translated for us. And I actually asked this guy, because his job is to sit at the mosque and make sure women are dressed appropriately. And so I was asking him, what's the deal with the schools being closed? And he said, well, we're doing it because there were some professors who were abusing the women. And so we had to take the women out of the school to protect them from these guys who are abusing them. And I asked him, well, then what are you doing to those men? Are they getting punished? Because why punish the women? And he said, no, they are getting punished. They're getting punished according to what the Quran says that they have to be, what has to be done to them. And then I said, okay, so if they're punished, then can the women come back? And he's like, well, maybe next year. Yeah, it's interesting to hear his perspective on that, because they do say that it's for the women's protection, that they're keeping them out of, the parks, out of the schools, this kind of stuff. So that's their reasoning behind it. I talked to a lot of guys who weren't in the Taliban, who were like, the Taliban are actually doing a good job with this country. The only problem is what they're doing to women. But a lot of people have a lot of positive things to say about the Taliban, because they're repairing the roads, they're repairing the country ever since all the destruction from war. Now it's actually safe to be there, where when the Americans were there, it was we're in power. You would just get shot in the street. It was really dangerous. And now they have all these checkpoints, they have guards everywhere. So people are actually safe. So a lot of people see it as a positive thing. But then when you go to Kabul, in the capital city, and you meet young women, they're like, oh yeah, it's a great country if you have rights. And they're pissed about it.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.
Now, back to the show. Interesting. So, I mean, just interesting to hear the conversations on the ground and kind of really hearing it from the people, the different perspectives and how people are feeling and about the situation, who's in charge and all of that. I mean, and you didn't sense any animosity for being American. I'm always curious. I mean, you know, I know you ended up in Vietnam, and maybe there was the Vietnam War was quite a long time ago, but even still, when I was in Vietnam specifically, I felt like there was still some animosity in some places about that. And maybe that was just me projecting. I don't know, but, and it's totally understandable, right? Like some country came in and killed their relatives. And so you didn't get any of the sense of that in Afghanistan, which is way more recent.
I didn't get animosity. I definitely had a lot of people who would say the Americans did this and this to us. The Americans did this and this to us. And then you sit there and you just listen to what happened, and you have to say, like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. How does that make you feel as they're hearing those experiences?
It feels horrible. I mean, I hate that the country that I'm from did that. Of course, I know it's not my fault. And I think they know that it's not my fault because they're not trying to accuse me or something. But I am the first American that they've met who's not a soldier. So they actually have a chance. It's like one day in the mountain, kind of up a hill somewhere, I met a Taliban guy. And he was like, oh, my dream is to be an American actor. So I turn on my camera. I'm like, what would you like to say if you're in America and you want to be an actor and stuff? And he was like, I would want to say that the Americans who came here, they left and then they were just gone and they had no accountability. And now we're repairing everything and okay, they're gone, but like now we have to fix everything. But the funny thing is like he said this, then he invites me over to his house because he has a pomegranate farm and he's like giving me pomegranates and I'm meeting his wife and all these people. But then his wife had her hand, it was like deformed. I know that's probably not the right word to say. It's not.
She had like a birth defect or something.
It was, yeah. And they said that she had gotten shot by an American soldier.
Oh, okay. Gosh.
So her hand was like ruined because of this.
Oh my gosh.
And I was telling my Afghan friend who was with me about this later, and he was like, the Red Cross fixes things like that for people. Like, they'd probably do it for free if she could just get enough money to go into Kabul. This was way outside the city, and like go to Red Cross and maybe they could fix it for her. So I said, well, how much does it cost for that? He's like, I don't know, a couple $100. So I just posted on Instagram. I was like, hey, does anybody want to donate? And we can get a couple $100 for this lady. And people donated. And so I ended up going back there, which was a whole adventure on its own because we hadn't actually marked the location of the place. We didn't have the guy's phone number. But this like old guy that we were with wrote it down in he has like a little address book and he had written down the guy's number, but it turns out that he wrote down the wrong number and the wrong name. So we're driving through this village where I've just seen the village and I'm like, I think it's that one. Even though they all look the same. But somehow I found the right one. And we're driving through and we're asking everybody, do you know where Arfanola is? Because that's the name the guy had written down. And everybody's like, we don't know Arfanola. And then this guy drives his car opposite direction of ours. He rolls down the window and the driver up front is asking, do you know who Arfanola is? And he shows the guy my picture of the guy on my phone.
Yeah.
And that's the guy.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
he's like, well, my name's not Arfanula, it's Izetula, but it's me.
Wow. And then you gave him the money then?
Yeah.
How did that go?
He said, thank you so much. And he took me back to the house to have tea with his wife and all the women who live in the house. And then we just left after that.
Wow. Okay. So many experiences.
Yeah. But like I said, it really was like such a different world in Afghanistan. It's like you just step in and all of a sudden it's like everything is different. Because people there are so isolated. Afghan people can only go to 3 countries in the world right now. Pakistan, or no, it's only 2, I think. Pakistan or the UAE. And nobody can afford to go to the UAE, so they can go to Pakistan, which is pretty similar to Afghanistan. But essentially, people can't travel. So they're completely isolated in this country. And their culture is so traditional and so old-fashioned that you go there and it's incredible. It's unlike any other country I've been to.
Amazing. No, thanks for sharing. It's cool to hear the on the ground experiences there. I've talked to other people that have been there and have heard a variety of different things, but generally having good experiences. And again, so the on the ground person to person experience as a traveler is much different than when we're talking about governments. And we all know that just from living in the world, right? The government's a whole different entity than just the people you meet, but I know they have a sort of famous for their hospitality, to the extreme of just, that area of the world in general. I feel I've heard so much about the hospitality. That's the one sort of thread that's come up a lot in this show. Were there any other times in the trip where you felt like things were dodgy, or there was any moments of, oh gosh, what have I gotten myself into, or this is dangerous, or what was I thinking? Anything like that?
Not too much. There was one incident in Afghanistan where I was like, and I just want to say the Taliban guys were all so nice to me. Like overall, they just like, just like any regular guy, like, oh, do you need any help? Do you need anything? They were super nice. But there was one incident where I got my car stuck on this like mountain and I couldn't push it because I'm actually really not good with driving a stick because I am American.
So why not just drive a stick from Serbia to Vietnam? Sure.
Well, yeah. And I did get stuck on this hill and this like car full of Taliban guys pulls over and this guy is like, do you want me to drive it up the hill for you? And I said, yes, please. And so he just jumps in and he drives it up the hill, but then he keeps going. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? And he says, to Kabul. And I was like, well, Kabul's a long way away. It's like hours away. And he's just driving my car and driving and driving. And I'm like, at first I'm like, well, I guess it's fine. Like we were laughing and he didn't speak any English. And so we were just like saying a few, Farsi words. And then he starts to like make a symbol, like he's asking for money, with his fingers. And I was like, man, you can't ask for money. You have to arrange that beforehand. And then we make an agreement. And he says, no, I give you money. And he like pulls out his wallet and tries to like hand me some bills. And then he was like grabbing my leg. And I was like, this is not a good situation. So I was just like, man, get out of the car. But he doesn't speak English. And so I had a brief moment of like, oh, that feeling of like, what did I just get myself into? But I just started to yell, I was like, stop the car. And I'm making all these gestures with my hands. And so he ended up pulling over the car and getting back in with the guys. But I think that was really the only situation where I was like, this is not good.
You have no control. I mean, you're in a car, somebody else is driving. You're in the middle of nowhere. That's scary. What about in any of the other places along the way? What was it like going through Russia?
Russia was also quite safe. I mean, I only got a 2-day visa. They gave me a 2-day transit visa. So I had to drive through as quickly as possible. And of course, that's the country where I get not one, but two flat tires. And one of my tire actually fell off the car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I spent my entire 2 days in Russia fixing a tire that fell off and another one that went flat. And yeah, basically, I didn't do much interacting with people. I did tell everybody I was Serbian. Because I was very rural. And I know that like a lot of times people can like watch TV when they're in rural areas and they can get ideas. And I don't know, I was like, well, they don't speak English anyway. So I was just telling people I was Serbian, and really didn't interact with a lot of people. Mostly I was just like interacting with the guys who were fixing my tires and a couple people in hotels, and I drove through, and that was really it.
How did your cat hold up on this trip?
You know, I was amazed.
Having a pet, that's a whole other wrinkle to this. For the pet lovers out there, they may be feeling inspired now to hear you can do some crazy trip like this with your pet. But there are some logistics around having a pet, of course. You can't leave them in a hot car for hours and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any tips for people that want to do a big adventure like this with a pet?
I had 2 bags. So one was like our stealth mode bag, which is like, we don't really want people to know that I have a cat in some hotels and stuff like that. So I would put her in that one and kind of cover it with a piece of fabric if we needed to sneak in somewhere where she wasn't supposed to go. And then I had one like it's like a front backpack, and she can just like sit in it and she chills and her arms and legs and her head are out. And so, basically we would just walk around the city with her chilling in front of me.
Oh, like that doesn't give you any attention at all.
Right. It's like you said about the Meow Mobile. It was like people just flocked
just
to
like,
me.
I'm sure that's a sight many people have never seen.
Yeah.
Some of these places.
Well, even it doesn't matter where you are in the world. That's a crazy thing to see.
I'm sure that led to a lot of fun conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. It honestly ended up being such a great perk. Like it was so easy to meet people. It's like even if you go to the sightseeing, the really touristy places, just everybody wants to take a picture and everybody wants to talk to you. And
you're like a celebrity. Yeah.
I know.
So you just finished this epic trip. Now you're working on the book. I mean, at this point, do you feel like you, not that you've had your fill. I don't think any traveler listening to this show has ever had their fill, but are you going to plan a bigger adventure like this anytime soon? Or are you more like, what's kind of your thought process now? Are you entertaining any ideas to go back to the States? What's next for Mia?
I have not had my fill. Actually, I think this is like my lifestyle now, actually, just like driving the car and traveling and visiting these countries and stuff. So at the moment, I'm working on getting another car and get all the right documentation for it this time. And then the next goal is to go through Africa after this.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. So what advice do you have? Because you also mentioned, and we haven't talked too much about the business stuff, but that you stopped in Serbia for a while. You wanted to build this business online so you could make this lifestyle sustainable, I'm guessing. And also it's nice sometimes after a lot of travel, maybe you just you're ready to kind of get to work. Was it maybe a little bit of that too? What is your advice for building something up while you're on the road? Because it's business comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, building something up while you're on the road. I think you have to be creative with the way that you make sales. So it was like different to run a business from my apartment in Serbia, obviously, than to run a business where I'm off grid a good portion of the time. So I really enjoyed doing flash sales. That was my main strategy that I did to make money while I was traveling, was just like, okay, so I'll be in a city like where I have a good Airbnb for the next 3-4 days. So then the week before that, I'd run a flash sale on sessions with me and then just be like, hey, I have 2 days available next week. You can book a session with me, discounted rate. And then those would fill up and I would just do like back-to-back sessions with people for 2 days. And that worked really well because it was like a good chunk of income for the month. And I sort of balanced that with, I am a copywriter. So I also had done for you copywriting that I would do for people, which you really don't need a lot of Wi-Fi for. You can just do that on a Google Doc and you don't need much. In terms of like building something up, if you are new and you don't have anything built at the moment, what would be my advice? My advice would be maybe stay put for a few months first, get yourself established, get some actual recurring income, and then travel and maintain it. So yeah, at the moment I am in Serbia again. I ended up coming back here, by the way, because I realized how difficult it is to buy and register a car when you don't have a residency in countries. So yeah, I'm back in Serbia and now I'm like building up again. So it's like all last year I was just going off of what I'd already built up. And then now I'm working on, growing that audience, improving my funnels, things like that, so I can have some passive income for the next time I travel. So it is difficult to really build something when you're that much on the road. So I do think a little sabbatical of a few months is nice.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's great advice. And I mean, it doesn't dissuade travel. Certainly. I mean, you built it up in Serbia. I mean, you could do it from another country, if that you want to spend time in. So, and yeah, the idea of just, sort of lifestyle business 101, like, hey, let's structure this product I'm selling in a way where it's going to fit into my travel schedule instead of kind of the other way around, like trying to fit everybody else in, and revolving it around them. You revolve your schedule around you and your lifestyle. If you do it in the right way, like you said, I mean, clients, they know the deal, right? Like they know they're getting on this call, they know, you show up, you do your stuff and everybody's happy, but you can still kind of batch it in a way where you have the off-grid time too. So yeah, good stuff. How's the copywriting business going? I mean, with AI and, are you using AI for any of that stuff? Do you think that this is going to be a tough business going forward? For those of you who aren't familiar with copywriting, and you can give a quick overview on what it is. And I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah. So overview of what copywriting is. It's basically like for people who want to sell things online, you've got to have all these written materials in order to sell it. You've got to have your ads, you've got to have your sales emails, you have your website and your landing pages and things. So those are the things I'm writing as a copywriter, basically selling stuff for people. And then, of course, a lot of people are using AI instead of copywriters. But I think that there's always been like, oh, you could get this cheaper on Fiverr, or you could get this cheaper on Upwork, on these different freelancing platforms. So I think there's always that element. And I know that some of my clients did cancel, and they were like, yeah, we're just going to like put your copy in and make a, make our own GPT out of this. Which I couldn't stop because 5 years ago, I didn't know that I needed something like that with a contract in place. But still, I do still have clients who want their copywriting written by a human, especially people who have really personal brands that aren't just like trying to funnel people through so much. They really want to I work with a lot of coaches and people who want that personal touch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's good to hear. How do you stand out in this day and age?
I think it's really about values. It's like nowadays, it used to be everybody was like, don't talk about your political beliefs. Don't talk about your like spiritual or religious beliefs or anything in your business. And I do exactly the opposite. Like in my marketing, I'm always like, I want clients who are like really progressive socially and they like to talk about political activism in their content. And that's something I'm passionate about. So I'm really good at like combining that with your sales copy. And I think that's what makes me stand out. And that's why people hire me, because they are people who share those really strong values.
Yeah, there's something with the alignment there too. You get a much greater experience as a business owner if you're working with people that you want to work with.
Exactly.
And then when you share values, it's generally going to be easier to get along. in different ways. The hypnotism thing.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience with that? I've never talked to a trained hypnotist before.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got into it. I sort of stumbled upon a shaman at one point, and this shaman, basically, it was an amazing experience because I just like, well, you can say opened up the subconscious mind, but like basically I had been to therapy, and the therapist would kind of ask these questions like, oh, what do you really want to do with your life? Or what do you need in with whatever circumstance? And it's always like you kind of hit up against a wall when you're just talking about something. At some point, there are no more answers. And then this shaman did this like meditation. And I just like, the sort of like answer that you get when you ask your subconscious mind a question, it really hits different. It's like this like inner light bulb turns on, and you're just like, oh, I know this is true. It like feels like a thump in the chest, like, yeah, this is true. And so where it was like, even with my backpacking trip, the previous one, the 2.5-year one, I remember feeling so stressed out a lot of the time, because a lot of the times when these circumstances come up and I'm faced with decisions, it was always like, I don't know what the right thing to do here is. Like I can just choose something, but I don't know. And then when I got into hypnotism, that's when I started to like get this like thump in the chest kind of feeling of like, should I do this or that? And I choose that, and I feel really good about it. Why? I think because our subconscious minds there's so much more available to us than just what we see in front of us. I don't even mean that in a spiritual way. I just mean that in like a scientific way. For example, any habit that we do lives in our subconscious mind. It's not like we have to think about how to walk, how to ride a bike, how to speak our native language, for example. All those things live in the subconscious mind. So the thing that gets in the way is when we think about everything. Should I do this? Should I do that? It's like I hypnotized somebody just the other day who was struggling to play the drums because she could keep the beat with one hand, but then she would get stressed out when it came to introducing a second beat with her other hand. And as soon as we just got her into more of a relaxed state, so she's not thinking, okay, now I hit this, now I hit this. She was keeping 2 beats with her second hand, so she was keeping 3 beats at the same time. So it's really just a way of like relaxing your usual mental faculties and opening up to whatever the brain is holding.
Getting your thinking mind out of the way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, best of luck with the book. If people want to check out your copywriting services, of course, we'll link up to it, evokewriting.com. And yeah, where else do you want people to go to connect or check you out?
Yeah, also go to miakercher.com. That's also where I have a lot of stuff about my travels, about the hypnotism. There's even a free hypnosis you can get. So there's lots to check out on there as well.
Cool. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you. I'm looking forward to the book.
Thank you.
Whenever that drops. Good luck writing that. And then the next adventure, I can't wait to hear all about it. So let's stay in touch, and I hope we can chat again. Yeah, please.
I thought of a poem that I could read.
Oh, great. Yeah, I want to wrap it up with a poem. Let's do this.
Okay. At first I hesitated because I didn't know what would be good for this, but I think maybe this one will be.
All right, the stage is yours.
Thank you. I don't want a life of comfort. I don't want instant gratification for all my desires. I want to know disappointment intimately. I want to be taken by the tense uncertainty of waiting. I want to wake in the morning, huddled close to longing. And when I've had all I can take and am ravished and exhausted by the delay of my desires, I want to bite into the sweetness of receiving more than I could possibly imagine. I want to feel the wealth dripping down my chin in all its sloppy ripeness. I want to lick my lips with the tangy aftertaste of gratification. I want to lap up the leftovers of rich pleasure till there isn't one drop left. I want to gurgle the juices of justification and suck the marrow from the bones of bounty. No, I don't want to pick and choose my experiences. I don't want to trim them down, organize them neatly, put some on display and others hidden shamefully in the cellar. I want them all up front for all to see. I want the flavors to simmer and boil and blend together, wafting an aroma so sweet yet so bitter, so salty yet so sour, so crunchy yet so smooth. I want to swirl them all together to be tasted, chewed, swallowed, digested, so I can breathe deeply and see clearly, so I can be fully alive while it is my time to live.
Wow. Goosebumps here.
Oh,
The power of words. Thank you, Mia. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for sharing your time today.
of course. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
There you have it. Thank you to Mia for sharing her adventures here today. And as I mentioned at the top, the book is finished now. If you want to read about the entire journey, it's called Following the Open Road, the road trip that brought me back to life. And if you recall, at the top of the show, I talked about the little blurb she shared when she mentioned that an unconventional digital nomad life of travel became boring and dissatisfied. And this got me thinking, on the surface, I think if you dive into a new lifestyle like being a digital nomad or insert whatever lifestyle here, expat, whatever can be related to travel or otherwise, what was unconventional at one point may shift at another point and become sort of your conventional world. We're humans. We're so good at just adapting and getting used to a situation, again, that may have seemed unconventional. And if you're out there traveling and you're living a certain lifestyle, and even though 98% of people might look at your lifestyle and say, wow, like that's so unconventional, it's so wild how you're living. But if it's conventional to you, that's what matters. And that's okay, if you're totally fine with that. But if you're seeking unconventionality, maybe it's time for a change. Who knows? It really depends on each person's situation. I just found it fascinating that Mia, living as an expat in Serbia and living this digital nomad lifestyle, which so many see as unconventional, but for her, it became sort of dissatisfying. That was the main thing, not just boring, because we all have our routines and that can be a part of life even on the road, but she was dissatisfied. And then she took off on this unplanned trip. So even if you dive into an unconventional lifestyle that you think is for you, it can still turn into something else and take you in a different direction. You never know when you get out on the road what direction things are going to go. Anyway, that's my experience. Want to say two things quickly before I leave you with a quote. First of all, we're now a member of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Just want to give them a shout out, and you can check out some of their other great pods over at airwavemedia.com. And of course, zerototravel.com/newsletter. If you want to keep up with the latest, getting the newsletter going very soon after the summer break. Took a little break this summer, which I'll talk about in a future episode. For now, I'm going to leave you with this quote. I thought this was a good one. I wouldn't say this is the most quotable person, but I thought it was fitting given one of the big themes today, unplanned travel, let's say spontaneous travel. And I think what that comes down to is just minimizing expectations so the experience is as fresh as it can be, but also still being smart. As you heard, Mia sort of took off spontaneously. But when she talked about her travels through Afghanistan, she did talk about checking out that Facebook group with some solo female travelers who had been through. And she got some information, right? And I think that you can never have all of the information, but you can make a plan. But your plan might not always go as planned. Let's say this is all leading up to this quote from Mike Tyson, who said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And the spirit behind that is true. I mean, literally, he was a boxer, so he was punching people in the face. But that idea that we can have all of the plans, but we may still get punched in the face out there, proverbially. And we're not going to be able to plan everything. So once you kind of embrace that, it makes pre-planning a lot less stressful because you can't plan for everything. Take that load off your shoulders. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by ZeroToTravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.